Logan was a quiet man with rough hands and tired eyes. He lived alone on a small salvage ship called the Wanderer, floating near the edge of known space. He used to work for bigger companies, but now he did his own thing, picking through old ships, broken stations, and forgotten junkyards looking for anything worth selling. One day, while scanning a nearby asteroid belt, Logan picked up something strange. It was a faint signal, almost buried under static and noise. He thought it might be an old beacon from a mining pod or maybe just interference. But something about it made him pause. He adjusted the settings on his console, filtering out the background hum of space. The signal came clearer. It was not a standard distress call. It was softer, more like a whisper in the dark. Whoever sent it was either very far away or very weak. Curious, Logan steered the Wanderer toward the source. The closer he got, the more the signal wavered, as if it were fading. He followed it into the heart of the asteroid field where jagged rocks floated silently in the cold. Then he saw it, a ship, battered and silent, drifting like a ghost. Its hull was cracked, covered in soot and damage. No lights, no movement. Logan circled it slowly, checking for signs of life. Nothing. He suited up and docked with the alien vessel. The metal was cold beneath his boots. Inside, everything was still. The air was thin and stale, but breathable. He moved carefully, flashlight in hand, stepping past broken panels and twisted corridors. It looked like no one had been here in days. Then he heard it. A soft sound, barely more than a breath. He froze. The sound came again, smaller this time, like a whimper. Logan followed it through the dim halls until he reached what looked like a nursery. The walls were curved, organic in shape, unlike anything human. There were small pods built into the floor, some open, others sealed shut. In the center of the room, half hidden behind a broken panel, was a small figure. Logan crouched down slowly. The child, that's what it looked like, was curled up, next to something larger, a parent maybe. Both were still. The child stirred at his approach, eyes blinking open. They were large, dark, filled with fear. Logan held up his hands, showing he meant no harm. The child didn't move, just stared. Logan turned his attention to the larger figure. It was clearly injured, breathing shallow. He checked for a pulse, found one. Weak, but steady. He looked around again. No other survivors, just these two. Something in him shifted. He tapped his communicator and spoke softly into it. "This is Logan. I think I found someone." He didn't know who he was talking to. Maybe no one. Maybe the universe. But he knew one thing. He couldn't. Leave them here, carefully, gently. He lifted the unconscious mother first, then the child, who clung to him without protest. Back on the Wanderer, he laid them down in his small med bay. He wasn't a doctor, but he had enough supplies to keep them stable. As he worked, the child watched him with wide eyes. Logan gave a tired smile. "Looks like we're stuck together now," he whispered. Space was dark and cold, but sometimes, even in the emptiest places, you could find something worth saving. Logan stayed up most of the night watching over them. He didn't know what to expect. He had patched up broken machines before, even treated a few injured crewmates during his old mining days. But this was different. These were not humans. The mother was still unconscious, breathing slow and shallow. The child sat beside her, eyes wide and unblinking, watching Logan with quiet fear. Every time he moved too fast or made a loud noise, the child flinched. It reminded him of a scared animal, unsure whether to run or trust. Logan kept his voice low and calm. He offered water, though he wasn't sure if they drank it. The child sniffed at the cup, then touched it with long, thin fingers. After a moment, it brought the cup to its mother's lips. Some of the water spilled, but a little got through. Logan felt something tighten in his chest. Maybe hope. He pulled out a notebook and started drawing. Simple shapes. Circles for heads, lines for arms. He pointed to himself, then to the stick figure on the page. "Logan," he said. The child tilted its head. Then, slowly, it reached out and drew a wobbly line in the dust on the floor. Not a word, not a picture, just a shape. But it was trying. Over the next few hours, the mother stirred again. Her skin shimmered faintly under the ship's lights, like it was reacting to the environment. She opened her eyes, dark and deep, like space itself, and looked at Logan. She didn't speak, but her body language was clear. She was afraid, confused, but also grateful. Logan pointed to himself again. "Logan." This time, the child tried to say it. The sound came out strange, stretched and soft, but close enough. Logan smiled. He gave them both names, at least for now. The mother he called May, the child Lula. They weren't their real names, but they were easy for him to remember. Mornings on the Wanderer were always quiet. The hum of the engines filled the air, steady and calming. When Logan woke up, he found Lula sitting by the door, watching him sleep. May was still resting. He got up slowly, careful not to startle the girl. He made coffee, then offered her a piece of dried fruit from his stash. She sniffed it again, then nibbled a tiny corner. Her face lit up. Logan laughed quietly. They spent the day learning each other's gestures. Logan showed Lula how to sit at the table, how to point, how to ask for things. She mimicked him with surprising speed, tapping her chest and making sounds that might one day become words. May woke again in the evening, stronger this time. She looked around, took in the small room, then turned to Logan. She placed a hand on his arm, gently. "Thank you," he understood without her saying a word. Later that night, Logan sat alone in the cockpit, looking out into space. The stars were cold and distant, but inside his ship something warm was growing. He thought about what would happen next. Someone would notice he'd gone silent. Someone would come asking questions. He didn't care. He had found 2 lives, in the dark, and he was not going to let them go. Not now. Not ever. The quiet didn't last long. A few days after Logan brought May and Lula aboard the Wanderer, a signal came through on the comms. It was short and direct. "This is Officer Carter of the Galactic Coalition. You are ordered to respond." Logan sighed and rubbed his eyes. He had been expecting something like this. Someone must have noticed his unauthorized entry into the alien ship or picked up unusual activity near the asteroid belt. He opened a channel, keeping his voice calm. "This is Logan. I read you." There was a pause, then a reply. "Logan, you violated interstellar protocol by boarding an unregistered alien vessel without clearance. What's your status?" Logan glanced at the back of the cockpit where Lula sat, watching him with wide eyes. May was nearby, still weak but getting stronger each day. They had started learning more words, copying sounds, asking for things by pointing and trying to speak. He took a breath and answered honestly. "I found survivors. 2 of them. Mother and child. They were left behind." Another pause. Longer. This time then Carter spoke again. Slower now. "You're saying you rescued aliens?" "Yes," Logan said. "They were alone, scared. I couldn't just leave them." There was a soft click as the call was put on hold. Logan waited, fingers tapping on the console. Lula crawled over and placed a small hand on his arm, sensing something was wrong. After a moment, Carter came back. "Stay where you are. We're sending someone to verify your story." Logan closed the channel and let out a slow breath. He looked at May and Lula. "Looks like we're about to have company." 2 days later, a sleek patrol ship arrived. It hovered near the Wanderer, scanning and signaling for permission to dock. Logan gave it, though his stomach felt tight. Officer Carter stepped inside wearing a dark uniform and a serious face. He was tall, with short hair and tired eyes. He looked around the small ship, taking everything in. Then he saw them. May stood slowly, holding onto the wall. Lula stayed close, hiding slightly behind her mother. Carter froze for a second, surprised by their appearance, long limbs, pale skin that shimmered faintly, large eyes full of caution. He turned to Logan. You weren't kidding. No one spoke for a moment. Then Carter pulled out a small device and started recording. Start from the beginning, Logan did. He told him how he found the distress signal, how he followed it into the asteroid field, how he found the broken ship and the two aliens inside. He explained how they were healing, how Lula was already learning to speak, how May watched everything with quiet gratitude. Carter listened carefully. When Logan finished, he looked at May and Lula again. They don't look dangerous, he admitted. Logan shook his head. They look lost. Carter tapped his comm. Command, this is Carter. I confirm the presence of two alien life forms on board, the Wanderer. They appear to be non-hostile. Requesting further orders. A voice crackled back. Hold them for transfer. Quarantine protocols apply. Carter hesitated. Logan saw it. The flicker of doubt in his eyes. For the first time since picking up that faint signal in the void, Logan felt something shift. Maybe, just maybe, not everyone in the galaxy wanted to lock them away. But he also knew one thing for sure. If anyone tried to take May and Lula from him, he would fight, even if it meant standing, alone. Logan didn't like the way Carter's orders sounded. Hold them for transfer. Quarantine protocols apply. Those words felt cold, final, like a door closing. He looked at May and Lula. They were watching him, waiting. Trusting, Carter noticed. You don't have to hand them over, he said quietly, almost like he was thinking out loud. But if you don't, Command will see it as disobedience. Logan crossed his arms. They're not criminals. They didn't do anything wrong. I know, Carter said. But that's not how the system works. They'll want to study them, run tests, make sure they're not a threat. Logan shook his head. No, I found them scared and alone. I'm not going to hand them over to be locked up. Carter studied him for a long moment. Then he tapped his comm again. Command, request delay in transfer. Further assessment needed. There was a pause before the voice replied. Approved. 24 hours. Then we move in. The channel cut off. Logan let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Carter looked at him. You've got a day. Use it wisely. After Carter left, Logan sat down with May and Lula. He wasn't sure how much they understood, but he tried to explain. Some people want to take you away. They don't trust you because you're different. May's eyes darkened. She pulled Lula close. Logan pointed to himself. I won't let that happen. He started thinking fast. What could he do? Running wasn't an option. Not forever. Hiding wouldn't work either. Someone would always find them. Unless... He remembered something. An old route used by smugglers and drifters deep inside a thick nebula. The kind of place where sensors couldn't reach, where ships could vanish for weeks. It was risky. Dangerous. But it was the only chance they had. He packed supplies, checked the engines, rerouted power to the shields. The Wanderer groaned under the effort, but held together. Lula watched him move around the ship, her large eyes full of questions. Logan knelt in front of her. We're going on a trip, he said gently. To keep you safe. She touched his face, then smiled. May nodded once. She trusted him. That night, while most of the sector slept, Logan fired up the engines and guided the Wanderer away from the patrol ship. He kept the lights low, moved slowly through space, careful not to alert anyone. As they neared the edge of the asteroid belt, Carter sent a message. Logan, I know what you're doing. Don't make this harder than it has to be. Logan didn't answer. Instead, he opened a new channel, one that reached beyond just the Coalition. He broadcasted a signal to all nearby ships, all frequencies, all listening ears. This is Logan, pilot of the Wanderer. If you can hear me, listen. 2 aliens were left behind, abandoned, alone. I rescued them. Now someone wants to lock them up just because they're not human. His voice grew stronger. If you believe that doing the right thing matters more than following bad rules, help us. For a moment there was silence. Then one by one other voices came through. This is Freighter Delta, we read you. Count us in. Storm Chaser. Here, we're heading your way. Sunbeam, responding. Tell us where to go. Logan stared at the screen, stunned. Carter's voice came back, quieter now. You really did it, didn't you? Logan looked at May, at Lula, at the stars ahead. Maybe. Or maybe I just reminded people that being human means more than just following orders. The ship hummed beneath his feet. The path ahead was uncertain, filled with danger. But for the first time, Logan wasn't alone, and neither were May and Lula. Space was vast and dark. But sometimes, even in the deepest parts of it, hope could still shine. The journey through space was long and quiet after the broadcast. The Wanderer moved fast but careful, slipping between dark stars and drifting dust clouds. Behind them, other ships followed. Small freighters, old explorers, even a few independent traders who had heard Logan's message and decided to help. May and Lula watched it all with wide eyes. They didn't understand everything that was happening, but they knew one thing. Logan was trying to keep them safe. He sat with them often, showing pictures, teaching words, explaining what he could through drawings and sounds. Lula picked things up quickly, repeating words like water, food, and safe. May listened more than she spoke, her large, dark eyes always watching, always learning. One night, as the Wanderer passed near an old, abandoned station, Logan found something useful, a broken data pod still holding records. He hooked it up to his console and started sifting through files. Most of it was damaged, but one file caught his eye, a record of alien refugees. It showed a species, matching May and Lula's description. The name listed was Veri. The file said they were once peaceful traders traveling between star systems, sharing knowledge and culture. Then came the next entry, accused of spreading bioplague, declared unwanted, exiled. Logan read it again, then looked at May. She saw the screen and flinched, her skin dimmed slightly like a light being turned down. Logan pointed to the word, plague, and shook his head. Not real? He asked slowly. May hesitated, then nodded. She reached out and tapped the screen. Then she drew something in the dust on the console. A symbol, strange and curved. Logan frowned. You didn't make the plague? May shook her head hard. Lula copied her, looking upset. Logan felt anger rise in his chest. Someone had lied. Someone had blamed the Veri for something they didn't do. And now they were hunted, chased from every port, forced to hide or die. He looked back at the file. There was more. A list of lost ships. Some names were scratched out. Others had notes. Destroyed, missing, unconfirmed. Logan scrolled down. And there it was. The name of the ship he had found in the asteroid field. He turned to May. Your ship, was it attacked? She closed her eyes. When she opened them again, she placed a hand over her heart and made a soft sound. Like a sigh. Gone. Logan swallowed hard. I'm sorry, he whispered. Lula climbed onto his lap and rested her head against his chest. She didn't understand the words, but she felt the sadness. Outside, the stars kept moving, cold and distant. Inside, something new was growing. Trust, maybe even family. Later that night, Logan played back a voice recording he had recovered from the Veri ship. Static filled the speakers at first, then a soft, flowing language came through. Not human, but full of emotion. May leaned forward, listening closely. Tears formed in her eyes. She understood it. After a moment, she translated as best she could. We are not dangerous. We only wanted peace. They took our home. We ran. We hid. We begged. No one helped. Logan sat silently. Then he said, I did. May looked at him. He pointed to himself. I helped you. She touched his arm gently. Yes. Lula hugged his leg. Thank you. Logan smiled, tired but sure. We're not done yet, he said. We'll find somewhere safe, I promise. Space was vast and cruel, but sometimes, even in the darkest corners of it, truth could still be found. And sometimes the ones who were forgotten just needed someone to listen. Logan kept flying the Wanderer deeper into space, away from the Coalition's reach. The other ships followed for a while, but one by one they had to turn back. Fuel was low, supplies were limited, and not all of them could keep running, forever. Still, their help had bought him time. Time to think, time to plan, and time to find a way to keep May and Lula safe. He sat alone in the cockpit most nights, staring at the stars, trying to make sense of everything he had learned. The Veri weren't dangerous. They hadn't caused any plague. Someone had lied about them, and now they were being hunted like criminals. It reminded him of stories he had heard growing up, tales of people being blamed for things they didn't do, pushed out, forgotten. He didn't want that to happen to May and Lula. One night, as he checked the ship's map, a message came through on a hidden channel. It wasn't from the Coalition, it was from someone else. "This is Relay Point Echo. We heard your call. If you're still looking for safety, we might have a way." Logan frowned. He had never heard of Relay Point Echo before. He tapped his console, pulling up what little data he had on it. Nothing much, just rumors. Some said it was a secret trading post. Others said it was run by aliens who didn't trust the big governments. A few said it was just a myth. But Logan didn't have many choices, he replied carefully. "I'm listening." A few minutes later, a new message appeared. "If you want to come, you'll need to follow these coordinates. No tracking beacons, no comms. Just fly blind until you arrive." Logan, read it again. Then he looked behind him. May was resting quietly in the medbay, her strength slowly returning. Lula sat beside her, drawing shapes on the floor with a piece of chalk Logan had found in an old storage locker. They needed a home. Not just a place to hide. A real home. He turned back to the screen and typed his reply. "I'll come." Then he shut down the main comms, locked the navigation system to the new coordinates, and took a deep breath. Space ahead was unknown. But sometimes, the only way forward was into the dark. For the next 2 days, the Wanderer moved silently through the void, engines low, lights dimmed. Logan watched the sensors closely, scanning for anything unusual. Then on the third day, something appeared. Not a ship, not a station, a planet. Hidden behind thick clouds of dust and radiation, almost invisible to normal scans, Logan blinked. "Well," he muttered, "looks like it's real." As he got closer, a small alien ship met him. Sleek, fast, built differently than anything he had seen before. It didn't attack. It didn't warn him away. Instead, it sent a single message. "Welcome to Sanctuary." Logan let out a slow breath. He looked back at May and Lula. "We made it," he whispered. They had found a place where others like them lived. Refugees, outcasts, beings who had been chased away by the big powers of the galaxy. A place where they could be safe. For now, he landed gently on the surface. Outside, the sky was purple, the air thick but breathable. Strange trees stretched high into the sky, glowing faintly in the twilight. A group of beings waited for him, some human, some not. They watched quietly as he stepped out of the Wanderer, May and Lula close behind. One of them stepped forward, a tall woman with short hair and calm eyes. "You must be Logan," she said. He nodded. She smiled slightly. "Thank you for bringing them here." Logan looked at May, then at Lula. They looked around, wide-eyed, taking it all in. For the first time since he found them, they didn't look afraid. They looked hopeful. Space was full of danger. But sometimes, even in the hardest places, there were doors that opened instead of closed. And sometimes the right person showed up at the right time. Logan had done more than rescue 2 lost souls. He had given them a chance. And maybe, just maybe, he had found something for himself too. Logan didn't know what to expect when he stepped onto the surface of Sanctuary. It was quiet but not empty. Strange lights flickered between the trees. Soft voices spoke in languages he didn't understand. Some of the beings watching him were human. Others were not. The tall woman who had greeted him introduced herself as Nia. She was one of the leaders of the hidden colony. "You've done something rare," she said. "You brought 2 Veri here, alive and unharmed." Logan looked at May and Lula, who stood close behind him. "They didn't do anything wrong," he said. They just needed a place to be safe. Naya nodded slowly. Not many would have done the same. She led them through the settlement. It wasn't big, but it was full of life. Small homes made from scrap metal and alien wood lined the paths. Children ran barefoot through the dust. Traders sold food and tools under glowing lanterns. It was a place for those who had nowhere else to go. As they walked, Logan noticed something. Not many, but a few. Long-limbed, pale-skinned, with eyes like deep water. They watched May and Lula closely. Some smiled. Others looked away. One of them stepped forward. An older Very male, his skin marked with lines of color that shifted slightly in the dim light. He spoke in their language first, then tried broken English. "You are alone?" May stepped forward. She answered in her own voice and soft and flowing. The man listened, then his eyes widened. He turned to Nia. "They thought we were all gone." Nia translated for Logan. "This is Kale. He's one of the last. Very here. He says most of their kind disappeared after the exile." Logan looked at May and Lula again. They weren't just refugees. They were survivors. Kale reached out and touched May's arm gently. Then he looked at Lula and smiled. For the first time since arriving, Lula smiled back. Over the next few days, Logan stayed close while May and Lula settled in. They met more of the colony's people. Some were curious. Others were cautious. Not everyone trusted humans. Not after everything that had happened. But slowly, things changed. Lula played with the local children, copying their sounds and games. She learned new words every day. May helped with repairs and translations, offering knowledge from her old ship. And Logan, he found himself helping too, fixing broken machines, teaching survival skills, even telling stories by the fire at night. Nia watched him often, arms crossed, thinking. One evening, she sat beside him. "You don't have to stay," she said. Logan looked at the stars above. "I know," he replied. "Then why are you still here?" He thought about that. He could leave. The Wanderer was still his. He could go back to salvage work, to drifting through space alone. But he didn't want to. He had spent so long running from things, from jobs, from memories, from people. Now, for the first time in years, he felt like he was part of something. He looked at Nia. "Because I think this is where I'm supposed to be." She studied him for a moment, then gave a small smile. "Then welcome home." Around them, the colony hummed with life. Laughter echoed between the trees. Fires glowed in the dark. In a quiet corner, Lula curled up beside May, already asleep. Space was vast and lonely. But sometimes, even in the farthest corners of it, someone could find a place to belong. And sometimes the hardest thing to find was peace. Peace didn't last long. One morning, as the colony slept under a purple sky, an alarm rang out. It was loud and sharp, cutting through the quiet like a knife. Logan woke fast, pulling on his boots and grabbing his coat. He ran outside, heart pounding. People were already gathering near the edge of the settlement. Some looked scared, others looked angry. Naya stood at the front, arms crossed, staring up at the sky. There, above the trees, floating silently in the air, was a human warship. Not just any warship. A coalition battle cruiser. Logan felt his stomach drop. They had found them. He turned to Naya. "How?" She shook her head. "Someone must have followed you. Or maybe they've been watching for a while." The ship hovered low, its shadow stretching across the ground like a warning. Then the voice came, cold and clear over a loudspeaker. "This is Commander Voss of the Galactic Coalition. We know the Very are here. Surrender them immediately, or we will take them by force." Gasps spread through the crowd. Some of the aliens stepped back. Others held their ground. Logan clenched his fists. "No, not again." He pushed forward, ignoring the looks he got. Naya tried to stop him, but he kept going. He grabbed a portable comm unit and shouted into it. "This is Logan. I'm the one who brought them here. If you want to talk, you talk to me first." For a moment, there was silence. Then Voss replied, "Stand down, civilian. This doesn't concern you." Logan laughed, short and bitter. "Doesn't concern me? They're not criminals. They didn't do anything wrong. You think I'll just let you take them?" Another pause. Then Voss's voice came back, colder now. "You're making this harder than it has to be. Step aside." Logan looked around. May stood with Kale and the other Veyri. Lula clung to her mother, eyes wide with fear. He remembered the day he found them, alone, lost, hiding in the dark, and now here they were again, cornered, scared, waiting for someone to help. He took a deep breath. Then he did something no one expected. He walked out into the open space between the colony and the ship. Alone, with nothing but his voice. He looked up at the sky and spoke loud enough for everyone to hear. "If you want to take them, you'll have to go through me first." Shock rippled through the crowd. Even Nia looked stunned. Above, the ship hesitated. Then Voss said, "You don't get to decide that." Logan raised his chin. "Maybe not, but I get to try." He turned to the people behind him. "They're not here to hurt anyone. They just want to live, isn't that what we all want?" Some nodded, others looked unsure. But then slowly, one by one, people began stepping forward. Humans, aliens, traitors, fighters. Even children stood beside their parents. A line formed behind Logan, not of soldiers, but of people who believed in something, more than fear. Above them, the warship remained still. Logan looked up. "You can take them," he said, "but you'll have to face all of us." Space was full of rules, full of power. But sometimes in the darkest places, one person could stand and say no. Sometimes that was enough. Sometimes that was everything. The wind blew softly through the trees. The stars watched silently above and below. One man stood tall, ready to fight for those who had nowhere else to turn. The silence after Logan's words was heavy. The warship above did not move. No shots were fired. No orders were shouted. Just quiet. Then, a new voice came through the speaker. Not Voss, but someone else. "This is Admiral Ellis of the Galactic Coalition. I am requesting permission to land and speak with your representative." Nia looked at Logan. He looked back at her. He didn't trust it, but he also knew one thing. If they could talk instead of fight, that was worth trying. Nia gave a small nod. Logan grabbed the comm again. "Fine, but you come alone. No soldiers, no weapons." There was a pause. Then Ellis replied, "Agreed." A few minutes later, a small shuttle detached from the warship and descended slowly. It landed carefully in the open space between the colony and the trees. The hatch opened. A woman stepped out. She wore a clean uniform and had sharp eyes. She looked around, taking everything in, and the people, the aliens, the way they stood together. She walked forward, alone. Logan met her halfway. They stopped a few feet apart. Ellis studied him. "You're Logan, right?" He nodded. "And you're the one who brought 2 wanted aliens into human space." Logan crossed his arms. "They're not wanted. They're not criminals. They're refugees." Ellis sighed. "That's not how Command sees it. There are protocols for first contact. You broke them." "Protocols don't mean much when they lead to locking up innocent people," Logan said. Ellis looked past him at May and Lula. She watched them closely. Then she turned back to Logan. "I read your report. I saw what you found on that ship. The truth about the Veyri. It's not what we were told." Logan raised an eyebrow. "You believe me?" "I believe what I see," she said. "And what I see now is a mother and child who just want to be safe." Silence stretched between them. Then Ellis spoke again, quieter now. "Command wants to take them. They say it's for study, for safety. But I know what happens after that. Isolation, tests, fear." Logan didn't say anything. He just waited. Ellis took a breath. "I can delay things, maybe even get them classified as protected refugees, but only if you agree to something." Logan frowned. "What?" "Let us take them to a neutral station. Not a prison. Not a lab. A place where they'll be safe while we sort this out. Logan felt his stomach tighten. You promise they won't be hurt? Ellis met his eyes. I give you my word as an officer. Logan thought about it, long and hard. He looked at May, at Lula. They had been through so much already, but maybe, just maybe, this was the best chance they had. He turned back to Ellis. Fine, but I go with them. Ellis hesitated. That's not standard. Logan stepped closer. Then make it standard. For a moment, Ellis didn't answer. Then she gave a small smile. Okay, you win. Behind them, Nia and the others watched carefully. Some looked worried, others looked hopeful. As the deal was made, Logan walked over to May and Lula. He knelt in front of them. Things are going to change, he said gently. But I'm still here. I won't leave you. Lula reached out and hugged his neck. May touched his shoulder. Thank you. Logan smiled. No, thank you. Space was full of rules, full of fear. But sometimes, even in the darkest places, someone could stand and say enough. Sometimes, that was enough to change everything. And sometimes, a quiet man with rough hands and tired eyes could remind the galaxy that heroes didn't always wear uniforms. Sometimes they just did the right thing. Time passed slowly at the neutral station. It was not a prison, not really. There were no bars, no guards watching every move. But it still felt like being watched, like someone was waiting for something to go wrong. Logan stayed close to May and Lula. He made sure they had what they needed: food, space to move, time to grow. Lula learned more words every day, mixing human speech with her own very sounds. She laughed often now, chasing light beams across the floor or drawing shapes on the windows. May healed slowly, both in body and spirit. She still carried the weight of loss, but she also began to hope again. The station was full of people from all over the galaxy, traders, diplomats, refugees like them. Some looked at the Very with curiosity, others with fear. But most just went about their lives, unaware of how much had changed because of one quiet man who refused to turn away. News of Logan's actions had spread. In human colonies, some called him a hero. Others said he had broken rules that should not be broken. Debates raged on message boards and news feeds. Young people talked about doing what was right instead of just following orders. Some alien species paid attention too. A few sent messages to the station, asking about the Very. One even offered help. A small planet where different species lived together without borders or flags. A place where no one had to hide. Logan read the message twice before looking. Up at May and Lula, maybe, he said softly. We found a home. One evening, Admiral Ellis visited the station. She walked through the halls like someone who had made a choice she wasn't sure about yet. She found Logan sitting by a window, watching Lula play with a ball of light from a broken hollow toy. He didn't look surprised to see her. You're still here, she said. He nodded. I promised I wouldn't leave them. Ellis sat beside him. Command is still divided. Some want to keep studying the Very. Others want to forget they ever existed. Logan looked at her. What do you want? She was quiet for a moment. I want to believe that we can do better than we have. He smiled a little. Me too. After a while, Ellis stood. You'll get your chance. Command approved relocation. The Very will be taken to the New World, under protection. Logan looked at her. And us? She raised an eyebrow. You don't have to go if you don't want to. He thought about that. He could stay. Go back to his old life. Drift through space like he used to. But when he looked at May and Lula, he already knew the answer. I'm going with them. Ellis gave a small nod. Then I guess you're not just a salvage pilot anymore. The day came fast. The ship that would take them was not military. Not flashy. Just a transport built for long journeys and soft landings. The crew was small, kind. They treated May and Lula like guests, not subjects. Logan stood near the window as the station faded behind them. Lula ran up and tugged his hand. New home? She asked. He knelt and smiled. Yes. New home. As the stars stretched around them, Logan felt something he hadn't in a long time. Peace. Space was vast and cold, but sometimes, even in the darkest places, someone could find warmth. Sometimes someone could change the way people saw the world. Not with weapons or laws, but with kindness. With courage. With love, Logan had started as a man who picked through broken things, searching for value in what others left behind. Now, he had done the same for two lost souls. He had seen something broken, and he had helped fix it. Not with tools, but with heart. Behind him, Lula laughed. Ahead of them, a new world waited. And somewhere, deep in the stars, someone else might be listening. Someone who needed to hear that story, about a human who did the right thing and the aliens who found a home.